expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Arizona, Brother Mike is back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. God bless you today. Welcome to the radio program. Forgiveness versus ought. The secrets of why you can't get healed. Hey, will you call somebody and tell them the radio program's on, particularly somebody who's got a chronic long-term medical condition, a medical condition or an emotional condition? This is their radio show. It is a lifesaver today. I'll make a couple of announcements and wait for you to come back. Say, this is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the House of Healing in Central Phoenix. We are on 11th Street, just south of Indian School Road and west of the 51 freeway. If you go to the website, hardcorechristianity.com, you'll see all of our ministry activities. We have services Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. All the services start at 7 p.m. All the services have teaching, healing, and deliverance in it. You can go to the Facebook page and sign up. You can sign up on our free YouTube teaching channel. We now have 4 YouTube teaching channels, and we've got tens of thousands of people following those channels. Please remember to hit the PayPal button and send us another donation. Thank you. You've been doing it for 14 years. And we are extremely grateful. May God richly bless you. Forgiveness versus ought. What is the difference? I'm going to explain something to you today that's blocking your healing or your deliverance. If you know a Christian who has a chronic condition, this radio program has to be heard. Check out this article that came out in the paper recently. Marguerite Baranski, a Christian humanitarian worker who rescued tens of thousands of children in her orphanages in the wake of the Burundian Civil War, said that forgiveness must be offered to everyone, even to those that killed 60 people in her own family. She wrote this article in the recently in the paper and received an award last April, the Aurora Prize for Awakening Humanity, a prestigious award commemorating the 1915 Armenian genocide. She told the Christian Post in an interview that amidst all the suffering and the atrocities she witnessed, she has never given up hope in believing in humanity and insisted that forgiveness is always possible. The article goes on to explain that she founded her orphanage in 1993 and was shielding the children from massacres from the Hutu and the Tutsi tribes. You remember that. And there were massive massacres of humanity constantly going on in that country. And the article says, quote, she recalled that even when she was 16 years old, she was troubled by the question of why Burundian people continue killing each other despite the fact that they were Christians and believed in the same God. And the article goes on to explain how she survived emotionally and spiritually because she offered the murderers forgiveness. And you flip this over to the United States and our teaching here in America, and you find something that is severely lacking. You see this massive deficit. Most churches do not teach this concept, and what I'm about to teach you now, you will rarely ever hear in a church. Check this out. Matthew chapter 5, quote, Jesus said, "You have heard that it was said by them of old time that thou shalt not kill." Phanuo is the Greek word for kill there. It means murder. Whoever shall murder shall be in danger of judgment. I say to you, whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment. Did you hear what Jesus said there? He's talking about the church and anger from one Christian to another. He's not talking about anger for a Christian against a sinner who did something horrible like a massacre in Africa. Quote, whoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. Raka is the Greek word, or the Hebrew word there. Excuse me, the Greek word. It means worthless. Raka, worthless. And whoever shall say, thou fool, that's the Greek word moros, where we get our English word moron, shall be in danger of hellfire. Gehenna is the Greek word for hellfire there, and it means the lake of fire. In chapter 5, Jesus also says something else startling. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar and remember you have aught, and you remember that your brother has aught against you, leave your gift before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother and then come offer your gift. The Greek word for aught there is itis. Itis means something, some kind of thing. The Greek word for reconciled there is dialasso, and it means to attempt to make a change. It's a Greek verb. What's Jesus saying here? Forgiveness isn't enough. If you forgive someone, it's not enough if you still have aught against that person. Look at it this way. Aught is the yuck factor, the negative emotion, the negativity, the senses of negativity you have about that other person. You have aught against that person, even after you forgave them. So what Jesus is saying here is that forgiveness, which is the Greek word aphiemi, which means to release, is an essential, but removal of aught is also just as important. Mark chapter 11, check this out. Jesus said, quote, have faith in God. For verily I say to you, whoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he says shall come to pass, he shall have whatever he says. Whatever things you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. That's Mark chapter 11. Well, that's a great verse, isn't it? Everybody wants that verse. What's the next verse? He ties it to this verse. Listen carefully. When you stand praying, forgive, aphiemi, release. If you have aught, itis, against any, that your Father which is in heaven may forgive you your trespasses. If you do not forgive, aphiemi, if you do not release, neither will your Father which is in heaven forgive, release your trespasses. Now the Greek word for trespasses there is interesting. It's not the Greek word sin, which is hamartia. It's paraptoma. Paraptoma means somebody's missteps, their screw-ups, their failures, their nincompoop behavior, their goof-ups, their faults. If you do not release aphiemi, this person from their failures, your Heavenly Father will not release you from yours. What does that mean? That means you're going to continue to fail because you have aught or negative feelings or negative emotions against another person for their failures toward you or to someone else you care about. But notice that in Mark 11, forgiveness and releasing aught is related to the power verse of having faith in God and moving mountains. You see that? It's absolutely remarkable. In my counseling practice, I've actually seen God heal people right in front of my eyes on numerous occasions. Here's what happens. The person was wounded or hurt by someone else, and they chose to forgive them. They choose to do that in their mind, and they choose to obey God. So they attempt to forgive them for what they did. But they can never, quote, get over it, unquote. They can never get over it because they have these negative feelings or these negative wounds in the soul for that person. They have bad feelings about them. They have regrets. They have kind of a sense of vengeance. They have a feeling of never wanting to be around them again or can't stand being around them or the thought of them makes them sick. That is ought. Itis. That is ought. That's the Greek word ought. You have something against the person, usually emotional, and if it's emotional, as you know, it comes out of the soul. And so when Jesus was talking in Matthew 5 about getting mad at another Christian without a cause, that is emotional, and that is related to ought, in addition to forgiveness. And this is the reason why so many people cannot get healed. Because they forgave the person for molesting them as a child, for raping them, for beating them, for stealing from them, for running off with the money. They forgave them for it, but they still have ought in their soul. They still have that yuck factor for the person. And that is blocking their deliverance and their healing. I've had hundreds of people over the years come to me who could not get healed and could not get delivered because they had ought against another person. How do you know if they have ought? Well, if I ask the person, how do you get along with your brother or sister? And they say, fine, I forgave them. And I said, when's the last time you saw them? Oh, 10 years ago. When's the last time you talked to them? Oh, I don't know, 8 years ago. What's the problem? Oh, we just don't get along and don't have anything in common. How do you feel when you think about him and talk to him? Well, I don't feel that good. I'm uncomfortable. Bingo, you have just found someone who has forgiven someone, but has retained ought. Has retained ought. Complete forgiveness also includes the removal of ought. And here's what causes so many people to be sick when they're in their ministries is because they have gone into the ministry and they have kept ought in their soul. Bad feelings about others. And that ought has prevented them from being healed or delivered. If you got bad feelings for someone, you've got the number, you can make the call. God will help you, 602-636-5800. Always remember that forgiveness, aphiemi, to release, is always related to ought, itis, anything, something. Once you remove that something from your soul regarding the person that wronged you, you can then get physically healed, you can get mentally healed, and you can get emotionally healed. And for years you've wondered what was blocking your healing. And today, on this radio program, God finally shared it with you. You have ought.
The views expressed on the preceding program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program has been sponsored by Michael W. Smith.